Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Dommy Issues. I am your host, Dom. Um, I don't know what today's vibe is going to be for this episode. Um, I can say, um, I don't know. Just some things have been on my mind, and I think, like, obviously, as you can tell, whoa, deja vu. Deja vu is weird. I have kept getting deja vu over the past past couple days. And when I notice that happening, I don't know if it's true or not, but I like to think that that means there is like a very significant event coming up. So I wonder what that's going to be. This is like the third time this week I've had deja vu. What was I saying? Take a shot. What I kind of want to talk about today is a wide range of things that I'm just going to let my mind kind of freely navigate how I want to talk about these things. Over the past over the past couple weeks, I've noticed myself, and I talked about this in previous episodes, talking about how when you go to therapy, you will learn. I talked about it in the episode speaking on Oktoberfest, actually. I don't mean to point at you with my finger like that. I find that to be rude, and I apologize. Um, Talking about how when you go to therapy, it's important to go because you'll learn to recognize the signs of, hey, some of the lug nuts are coming a little loose. We might lose a wheel here pretty soon, right? And I failed at doing that. I think I don't know. I may be catastrophizing a lot of these things, but I learned that word recently. Sorry, I don't mean to point at you. But you know, I looking at, back in hindsight now, I recognize that there were signs that I was falling into this pit that I was currently. I'm not. I'm in a hole right now, but I'm in no pit. I'm finna be in the pit. Anyways, man. And it kind of all came to fruition this evening um, when I was at the gym. If you don't know, recently I did a 72-hour fast. So for the past, not I broke it actually on Wednesday evening. It's Friday evening right now when I'm filming this because I am late and it's no excuse. It's an excuse, but not a validation as to why I was late with this podcast. But not the fast, but a lot of things in addition to that. But the fast was actually amazing. I'll speak on that really quickly. Um, the 72-hour fast was actually very beneficial. If you don't know, a lot of people will do it mainly for health reasons. It is typical in a lot of religious practices or spiritual practices to fast because of A, the health benefits, but B, the kind of spiritual. I don't want to use the word enlightenment because I feel like that is such a strong and bold statement to use on it. But it kind of captures what I'm trying to say in a sense, where when you are doing the fast, your mental clarity is so clear, for lack of better words or other words. You, at least in my experience, and from what I understand from everyone else who has done one, is your energy is through the roof. Your mental clarity is cleared up because when you reach the point of 48 to 72 hours, your body has begun eating at, okay, I think I'm using these words correctly. I am no doctor. This is not any medical advice, okay? Eating at the ketones, utilizing ketones for fuel. And eventually it'll start eating at the stuff within your brain, not at, good stuff, but kind of like dead cells, cancerous cells, especially stem cells, we start to regenerate on their own, a lot more, making things a lot more clear up here, right? And within the rest of your body, I felt very good. Outside of the hunger, I felt really good. I mean, I didn't work out because this was my first time fasting for that long. I didn't want to drop. I did like run 2 miles and my heart rate got pretty up high, but I wasn't like pushing myself very hard. I did go lift weights, but it was only like a 20-minute lift. It was just to move blood around my body. And I did hit 10,000 steps a day. because I just didn't want to push my body to that extent for my first go around. But it was very beneficial. This time around, I did not take as much emphasis on, trying to come more to spiritual connection and spiritual enlightenment. I really was doing it for the health benefits and the physical aspect of the things of resetting my gut. That's something that does. It resets your insulin sensitivity to an extent. It helps reset your metabolism to an extent, in a very good way. I'm saying to an extent because it's like you're not going to be skinny queen overnight, right? But it eats at cancerous cells. It resets your gut health. It helps with your digestive tract kind of getting a reset of the things that were in there and what it's used to, so you can, if you're looking to make your gut health better, and I am no doctor, but you can start to reincorporate better foods to reset your gut microbiome so that it is in a better standpoint than where it was before. Um, and the stem cell regeneration of your body being able to heal, and also the fact that it eats at your fat. Once you go past about that 12-hour mark, your body will go in, I believe it's called ketosis, where it'll stop eating at the glycogen stores that is stored within your muscles. Because typically, if you don't know, sorry, I'm going off track here, but I'm going to teach you because this is what I know. When you eat carbs and other foods, specifically carbs, it'll store it as glycogen within the muscles of your body, and it'll use that for fuel. That's why most people, especially athletes, eat a lot of carbs. Once you are in a fasted state for that first about 12 hours, your body will be going at those glycogen stores for fuel. It'll be using as much as it can, right? After about that 12-hour mark, your body will start to go into, I believe it is called ketosis, which I said previously, where it'll start eating at the fat stores. It'll start eating at the fat because it's easy to digest it. It can use it for fuel, and it'll just cut it out. Over my fast, I dropped 15 pounds. Now, I feel like a lot of that may have been muscle. I don't know. We'll see. But it was a good amount of fat, I believe. Um, that was my main reason for doing the 72-hour fast. I did enjoy it. It did suck, not eating, because it is rough when you see other people eating, or, you can smell food. You're like, damn, man. But it's also a very good test. I guess that was the spiritual aspect of it. Less of spiritual and more of personal, but I guess it also goes hand in hand with spiritual of, you know, um, testing your willpower, your discipline, your drive to the dedication to mission of what you are trying to accomplish, which kind of goes into a couple of the topics that I want to speak on today. Now, excuse me for looking at my phone, but when I was at the gym, I was at the end of my lifts. I kind of started to have more mental clarity. I'll realize that when I'm working out. I look, if I run once in a blue moon, when I run, and I want to start doing that more often, or if I'm rucking or if I'm hiking or anything like that, if I don't have my phone, and no, I don't like to run with headphones, right? Because I love the therapy session that I get to have with myself. It's just me and my mind, right? And I'll notice at the end of my lifts, like I'll get so annoyed with the music in my ears or the whatever is playing, to the point where I'll either take it out, but honestly, I don't love to do that because the gym obviously has speakers and they're playing their own music, or I can hear people moaning around me, and I'm just like, I don't want to listen to that. I'll play frequencies. I notice when I play frequencies, believe what you want, but I personally believe that, and this kind of goes into why I get it when people are, what's the word, like, crystal girlies or whatever, because I do believe that everything in this world operates on a frequency. Everything, if you know anything about the radio frequency theory, there are frequencies everywhere that we cannot see that operate all the time around us, and everything radiates a certain frequency. And that is why I believe when you find someone, you meet someone, you guys just kind of click. You guys are operating on the same frequency. You guys are going hand in hand, right? I believe that when you are able to tune your mood or your mind to a certain frequency, it allots you a different connection to what you are trying to do. I believe, like, when I'm trying to really focus, or really think about certain things, I will play certain frequencies because it puts me in a different headspace. It puts my body and what feels like my soul into a different zone, for lack of better word. Word, whatever that saying is. So I'll find myself doing that. I ended up doing that at the end of this lift, and I started to listen to. I was just scrolling TikTok, mindlessly because I was just walking. I was doing my cardio at this point, and I came across like this 10-minute long David Goggins video. It was a long speech of that he did in a documentary. I don't know why it drove my mind to this place, but that's something that I believe is that, and that's why I love to do this podcast or create content of any sort. And I know, like, if you follow me on TikTok, most of my TikToks are comedic and stuff. But if you follow me on like Snapchat or Instagram, you may see a post more often where it's me being more trying to educate, trying to teach, trying to lead, because that is something that when I first got into social media, you may remember on my old video on my TikTok, there's a video of me. I cried right in my car, and I explained why I was putting so much effort into TikTok, and it's because I was in a place of man, what's the word? I was so alone. It was only me. I was a junior marine living in the bricks. I didn't have many friends. I didn't have any friends on island. The people in the company that I was acquaintances with, I wasn't very much friends with at this time. Um, I was just alone, and all I had at the time was the gym, right? And I voiced in that video where the reason why I got so into social media is because I wanted to build a community for those that feel like minded in that sense, where they don't necessarily have the people around them right now that they want to surround themselves with. Because I do say that there's that popular saying that show me your friends, I'll show you your future, where it's difficult, where if you recognize what you want very early on and the type of person you want to be, and you are strict with who you allow around you and to have for an extended amount of time and to have an actual effect on who you are day to day, if those people aren't there, it becomes very hard, and you kind of learn to be with those people through social media, which is a blessing and a curse. um, but either way, nonetheless, I started making content because I wanted to build a community for those people. That's why I say, be the moon. It's because I want to be the light in people's darkest hour that I can, because when it was my darkest hour, I didn't have anyone to be that light for me. That's why I try to spread that message of be the moon, man. I got it from a poem. I cannot tell you the poem, but I can subquote it, where it basically said, everyone else in your life wants to be your sun. They want to bring you light, but no one's there in your darkest hour. I want to be your moon in your darkest hour. When no one else is there, I want to bring what brings you light in the darkest hour to lead you and guide you. Not to sound like I'm, you know, trying to be your some deity or anything of that nature. No, that's not my intention. Like some cult leader, or is it? But I don't know. And I think that when I was to backtrack, when I was at the gym and these things were on my mind, I think it was just I wasn't in that mind space yet, and I think that's why, not to make an excuse, but I hadn't filled in this podcast yet. And I think that the way things are clicking is because today was meant for me to have these thoughts on my mind and to be able to have the time to film freely and not of, you know, any blockage, for lack of better words. Dang, I gotta heighten my vocabulary, man. To get this message across, I do believe that the universe had me operate on a certain frequency at this point in time to say this, because I think that out there, someone watching this needs to hear this, and I need to hear it myself, and I need to tell it to myself again, and I need to say it out loud, and I need to put these words, I need to speak them into existence. I need to send those vibrations out from my body into the universe to attract what is meant for me. If you don't know the law of attraction, we will get into that in a further episode at some point. But it is real, and it is strong, and it is something that is in your life, whether you want to accept it or not. It is there. Um, so, a couple of the things that were mainly on my mind was, I mean, there was so much, but something that first came to my mind with what I've been struggling with recently, and I will be open about this, is finding purpose. Finding your purpose, especially in your 20s, because in today's day and age, we are so surrounded with in our social media, it seems like everyone is light years ahead. Everyone is doing things. Everyone is achieving all these amazing accomplishments. And if you are not at this point in time, you believe that you are behind, and you see people who are, see all these people who are achieving all these things. And at this point in time, you may not be, and you're thinking, what am I doing? I'm so lost. Everyone else has it figured out. I don't know what I'm doing. You start to spiral, right? Or you may be stuck in some dead end job, or you're stuck in a contract that you're waiting until the contract is finally up, and you're just spiraling, waiting for the clock to hit zero finally, so you can do these things. And you're trying your best, but you are surrounded with constant reassurance in your mind that is false reassurance, nonetheless, that you are behind and that you are lacking that purpose. But I need to be frank with you, is that it is all an illusion. It is all a facade. Everything is a facade in that sense, where nobody has it figured out. The 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 Bill Gates, the who else, man, can I mention? People who I at least have on my social media. I don't even know if you guys know these people. The Brittany Broskis, the FaZe Clan, all these different people, they're all just winging it, really. No one really knows what the hell they're doing or what their purpose is. Everyone is still chasing something. You'll see that in there, if you look further into it, they're all trying new things. They're all doing something different. There is a greater scheme at work within their minds behind just the facade that they are showing. And I'm not saying facade in the sense of it's meant to trick you, but it is just a security tactic that the brain, I believe, just, or the, not the brain, but everyone just kind of puts on until they are open about, I'm kind of just going day by day. I have these ideas of what I'm trying to achieve, and I know what I am trying to achieve, but the grand purpose of everything, I'm still searching for it. I think, let me think. Point I'm trying to make here is, if you are struggling with finding your purpose, be patient. You have not found it yet. You don't understand everything that is happening. You do not understand everything that is happening or coming to you or for you just yet, in my personal belief. And if this resonates with you, then amazing. But I was recently speaking to a friend who was being open about this, and how she was, once again, kind of spiraling, kind of in a bad headspace, because she was, I don't know what my purpose is. It seems like everyone else has these things figured out. And she was open of, she understood, like, I know no one has it figured out, whatever, but it still was there, right? The effect of thinking everyone else has it figured out was still there. And I just want to give my 2 cents of, your purpose is to, is, how do I want to word this? In my personal belief, your purpose is to chase finding your purpose. You do not have one singular purpose on this world, in this realm. You do not have just one singular purpose. Your purpose is not to pass butter, if you know what that's from. If you've ever watched Rick and Morty, sorry, I'm getting off track here, but there's a scene where Rick makes robots, right? If you've ever watched it, he's a scientist, and he made a robot, and the robot asks, like, what is my purpose? And Rick just goes, you pass butter. And the robot goes, oh my God, right? And it's funny. It's hilarious because he, like, wants to die after figuring that out. You do not have just one purpose. You were not put on this earth just to go and put numbers into a computer. Your purpose is ever changing and ever evolving. At one point in time, your purpose is to, when you're talking to a person, to be there, just be there to have an ear open and listen to them. At another point in time, your purpose is to, man, how can I give examples of this? At another point in time, your purpose is to be at that concert with your friends, to help them all feel loved and feel a sense, goodness. Sorry, I just ate. A sense of community. At another point in time, your purpose is to give that person a hug for whatever reason, right? These are very baseline purposes, but you get the point. I don't believe anyone just has one singular purpose. Of course, if you're looking at it from a career aspect, which from my understanding, damn, this is why I started talking about this, man, because I needed to hear this. Recently, I've been struggling with, you know, in 6 months, I am getting out of the Marine Corps. Um, and I will be out in the real world for the first time since I was 17, um, to build my life how I need to, right? And I've been struggling with the fear of that. And if you are prior military, or you are certain or currently military, or really those are the only two, you understand that feeling of kind of like, it's terrifying, man. If you don't have something specifically lined up, you got to make it for yourself. It's all on you, right? And it's really scary, to where I began to ask myself, like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? What is meant for me? But you have to trust in, and if this doesn't relate to you, whether no matter, and this will go into the next topic, you have to trust in the plan. If you are Christian, Muslim, um, Muslim, no, it's Islam, correct? I apologize. If you are Christian, Mormon, or spiritual, or agnostic, or any of those things, in my personal belief, it's you got to trust in the greater scheme of things. There's a greater scheme at play, and I am a chess piece within that play of it, within that plan, and the universe will give to me, when I am ready, those things that I need to provide to the plan. I understand that I can only put my best foot forward in the things that I want to chase, but the universe will put those desires within my soul, within my mind, within my being, for the greater scheme of things. And at one day they will come to fruition. You will be taught lessons along the way that will help you in that greater plan. If you've ever noticed, if you take a step back and look at your life, there are things that you learned at the age of 10 that you didn't really put into effect until you were 16, and someone else had an issue and you taught them that issue and you actually put that into practice, but you remembered at 10 when you learned that lesson. If you get what I'm trying to say here. So many times I've always told people, whenever you're going through, when you are at like your lowest points, you are open to the greatest change. And at those low points, you are taught certain lessons. You learn more things. You grow in a way that you couldn't before at other points in time. It's sort of like, the best way for me to analogize it is that a word? It should be. When you go to the gym, how you build a muscle to become bigger and stronger is you have to first break it down. You have to go in the gym and destroy the muscle. You have to break it down, and then you have to, from that point, feed it protein, feed it the carbs, feed it what it needs to build up and be stronger, right? I lost my train of thought every time, man. It's like a plastic bag drifting through the wind. Where I guess with this, I could just go into the next topic. With that, though it may be open ended because I did lose my train of thought, it kind of goes into the next topic that I want to jump to, is spiritual fitness. Now, when I was, and I think this is so unique how maybe I'm just convincing myself here, but when I was at formation today, my sir had brought up, spiritual fitness in a sense, and it made me want to speak on the topic of, he said how in a certain, I don't want to call it an order, a certain thing that came. Damn, bruh. It's like a nuke is going off in my damn stomach. Fuck. In a certain thing that was passed out, it was saying how those who lack a spiritual fitness within a chord of things that I won't get into at this point in time are 80%, sorry, those who practice spiritual fitness are 80% less likely to commit. Um, and I think that is very important. And he was harping on, now that does not mean you have to follow religion or anything of any of those sorts. You will follow what you follow. Me personally, I'll be open. I don't follow religion. I believe the term for what I am is, there was a new term that came out that best describes it, but I believe in a higher power. I do not know what that is. I do not resonate with a certain religion at this point in time in my life, but I do believe there's a higher essence at power that leads me, that guides me, that I feel a connection to, correct? Well, whether you are like me in that sense or you follow a certain religion, I think it is so important to actually practice that, for the sense of it gives you a very strong footing, in the sense where it is a faith. Now, I know when you say faith, a lot of it can get construed to certain religions, and I'm not trying to. That's not the point of the word. That's not the effect that I'm trying to have with that word. How can I word this, man? For me, spiritual fitness is being able to take a step back and trust in what is happening, and understanding that I am still in control of what I can control and nothing else. With what is put onto my plate, I can choose to eat it or not, and I can choose to follow or not, for lack of better analogies, where you need to practice those things when you find yourself in these holes. Now, whether, man, this is so hard, this is so difficult, but please bear with me. Grace and patience, am I right? I'll use this and the next point hand in hand. Spiritual fitness goes hand in hand with be careful with what you consume. Similar to how, now my biggest not pet peeve, my point that I'm trying to make with that is what you consume through social media or through within your life. If you look at it how you eat food, if you eat, if you have a plate of food, or if you can make a meal, whatever, imagine, right? And if you are eating really bad junk food, soda, alcohol, um, uh, narcotics, or just bad preservatives and all those things, and not drinking water, it's kind of obvious, and you will already be able to tell yourself exactly what will happen. You will put on fat. You won't feel very good. You'll feel lethargic. You maybe, your brain will not be able to perform at its highest functions. You'll begin to have health problems, etc. That is how you need to remember to look at social media and the books you read and the music you listen to and the things that you allow others to say to you that sit with you and fester within your mind, where you need to be cautious of what you are consuming. I will realize this, and I'm sure everyone has experienced this at this point in time. There's no way everyone hasn't. Where if I'm laying on my phone and I'm just doom scrolling, I will find myself and I'll get so upset. Literally a zombie. Like, oh, it's so gross when I find myself, I'm literally just like this, just scrolling, just mindlessly taking in garbage, just stuffing my face full of Cheetos and grease and all this trash, right? Where I'll catch myself and I go, "Oh my god, dude! Like, what am I doing?" And I'll get upset. It'll infuriate me. Versus when I can am mindful of that and I see that and I go, I'm gonna choose to listen to this podcast or to listen to this audio book of what something is trying to teach me, where I'm like, this will actually benefit me in a way. This has a positive effect on me in the long term. Now, whether it's see, that's where it becomes difficult, because sometimes you need to hear those bad things where it's like, oh, careful what you consume. If someone's telling you something bad that you don't agree with or maybe is hurtful, at that point in time it's hurtful, but it's meant to teach you something. You can reflect on that. You can take it and learn from it. You can change it into something positive. You can change your perspective on how you're interpreting it and make it for better. You can turn it into good fuel. And I just think it's very important for when you take that as spiritual fitness, when rather than if you woke up and the first thing you're doing, you're rolling over and you're scrolling TikTok, right? You're scrolling TikTok, whatever, and then you start off. Most times, scientifically proven is that spikes your dopamine and it makes you have a not as good of a stepping stone for the rest of your day as you could if you woke up and you, say, meditated or read a Bible or read a book on something you're trying to read, or stretched or anything of the nature, where you are, rather than consuming junk, you are trying to fuel your body with something better. Which goes, how do I want to tie that into spiritual fitness? Where you need to recognize when you're in those moments and be tough on yourself to strengthen that spiritual fitness aspect of things, where fuck, I keep losing it, man. where with what you're consuming, you can strengthen that foothold that you have for everything else that you are trying to pursue, where you may recognize when you are waking up in the morning and consuming garbage, and then throughout the day you're consuming garbage, and you sing a song that's just garbage, or you listen to something that's garbage, or what have you. You allow people around you to be so negative, and that's just garbage on your what you're trying to pursue. It has so many byproduct effects that you may not realize that that is one of the very strong sources of fuel towards that, where that leads you to go down those spiraling effects of what is my purpose, or what am I doing? What am I meant to do? Why is so and so not talking to me? Why you catastrophize everything. You find yourself to be the issue rather than being able to strengthen those things and have trust in yourself and have trust in whatever it is you believe, and trust in the process of this is all happening. This is meant to happen. I trust in myself. I know my abilities. I know what I can control. I know what I can consume, and I know that I can only control what I can, and being more mindful of that. That has the byproduct of only improving the secondary things that come from that. Which comes into my next point of what I thought of is you need to learn the type of person that you were meant to be. Now, I know previously I said like no one person has just one purpose in this world. Yes, I believe that. But I also believe there is a necessity for these different types of people within this world. There needs to be those who, at points in time, are how do I want to word that? Damn, bruh. If you are able to take a step back and visualize yourself in the future of who you feel you are meant to be, 10 times out of 10, you can imagine it, you can become it, and there's a reason why that version of yourself is on your mind, whether it, it's because in your being, that's who you are meant to be in an essence. When I take a step back and I look at who I'm meant to be, I am meant to be someone who is loving, who is caring, who is protective, and who is a leader, and who is kind and a sound mind and healthy and nurturing and fun and funny and motivated and dedicated and a hard worker and all these different things that I imagine of myself. It's because I know I can become those things, and it's because I resonate with wanting to become those things. Because I also can see how I could be negative, I could be hateful, I could be lazy, I could be a slacker, I could be all those things, but that's not what I resonate with. That's not with who I am and what I feel inside of myself, who I am meant to be. I am not in alignment with that. I never have been in alignment with that. When I find myself in those points where I am that, I am out of alignment with who I am meant to become and who I am meant to be. I recognize that this is wrong. Vibrationally, I am not within alignment of who I am meant to be and who I am meant to become. And I say that because everyone is meant to be something. Not everyone can be one thing, right? There are so many different flowers and so many different plants, right? That all do different things, that all serve a different purpose to the ecosystem that is the world. And this is something I thought of the other day, what I think is so interesting. Now, this may be off topic, but I forgot what I was listening to and why it came into my mind. But I was thinking about how you see people who are so in touch with nature, like typically people call them hippies, where they're very in touch with nature. They like to live outside. Oh, I was listening to a podcast and it was someone I was listening to Reddit reads or Smosh reads Reddit stories, and they were talking about how in one of the stories someone was saying, me and my mom, we just love nature. I don't know, that's weird. Like we just love being in nature. And I was like, why is that weird? Why is that weird? We are nature. We are from the earth. We are nature. We have become so disconnected from nature because of what we live in homes, we watch TV, we're so more connected to so many people nowadays are so much more in tune with technology than they are with nature, which is odd, and there needs to be a better balance. And I know I'm getting off track here, but I was like, we are nature, we are that, we are part of the grand ecosystem. that is was meant to be in alignment. And that just really sat weird with me. Where I was like, why is that? Why is it that it's weird to be connected to nature and be connected with liking to be outdoors and go do all these things where it's like more normalized to just rather be inside playing video games, watching TV, watching movies, you know, consuming social media, what have you. I don't know. I just thought it was very odd. And I've gone completely off the rails at this point. That's beautiful. Really appreciate that, Dominic, for letting yourself go down that rabbit hole for a second. Now, this goes back to my next point, kind of goes back to something I mentioned a lot earlier in this episode, where who you allow yourself, when I was talking about wanting to build a community, of who you allow to be in your circle, who you allow to surround yourself with. And there is that saying where, or that maybe you've seen the image where it's, it's typically like for entrepreneurs and stuff, where there's a bunch of fish swimming down a stream. And then in the first image, it's like, oh, this is you, and you're the one fish going with the rest of the fish in the stream. And it's like, but this should be you. And it's the fish turning around, swimming upstream in the opposite direction that everyone else is swimming in. And I don't agree with that stream. Everyone is following along the stream, right? I think the difference is you are not going upstream. You're not going in a different direction, but rather you are swimming with different fishes along in the stream, right? Now stick with me here. Let me try my best to paint this fucking picture in the end game here. Oh, I just got dizzy, man. Where it is so important, and it alludes back to me saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, of be picky. You need to be picky with who you surround yourself with. Now that comes hand in hand with, and it is not hand in hand, that starts to what's that word? I believe it begins with a C. It begins to contradict itself when I say, don't surround yourself with people who are negative, with people who are Debbie Downers and are self sabotagers and all those things, where you need to still be cautious and toe the line of still be in those people's lives. But to an extent, it's similar to how when you hear people say, I can love you from a distance, right? It's if you are able to set up sort of the boundaries that you need with certain individuals, I think it is so important to teach what you've been taught. I believe you learn something so later on you can teach it to others. Everything you've learned, you have taught to someone, or you will teach to someone in one way, shape, or form or another, right? Where be picky with who you surround yourself with, and it goes hand in hand with what you consume of what they are teaching you, in a sense of how you interpret it, where if you allow someone who's very negative in your life to remain in your life and only be negative, and you allow that negativity to eat at you and make you a more negative person, you need to be very picky and very mindful of that and recognize that whether that person is still in your life, and when you bring in that negativity, however it does, you are able to flip it and recognize it and turn it into positivity. Whether it's you see that and you go, I don't think that way and I never want to think that way. Or now this may sound bad, but when you have that friend, right, who is constantly going back to the same guy or girl who is toxic for them, who is hurtful in a relationship, who is only bringing them down, you can still help them when they come to you for help, but you need to recognize when it's like trying to teach you, and if you take it and go, I don't want that type of relationship. It actually, almost a better analogy will be when you are dating. When you are dating, it is meant to, date people and figure out, I like that, I don't like that, I like this, I don't like this, I like when someone talks like this, I don't like when someone talks like that, etc., etc. I like when people say etc., etc., just because they've ran out of other things to say. Like that was the bulk of their knowledge, so they just said etc., etc., or etc. to make it sound like they had more. They just didn't want to type it. I find that stuff to be funny. I always think that when I'm like, that's all they knew. They just know there's more, but they don't know it. Whatever. Shut up. What was I saying? Take a shot. I've completely lost it. It is gone. It's gone. I have gone off the rails. I, I have lost it. I have zero clue what I was saying. It's completely, whoop, it's gone with the wind. So I apologize if I'm leaving that on an open note. But maybe that's just what love is meant to happen. um, One of the final parts that I wanted to talk about and this is something I thought about when I was listening to the rest of that David Goggins clip, was similar. How can I, dude? I'm always trying to find. This last point is a bit weird, but it's in my mind. You do not know when that finish line is coming up, so don't slow down. You may find when people are running a race or a marathon or whatever, if they see the finish line, they may tend to slow down or maybe speed up or whatever. But in life, you don't know when that finish line is coming. So I think it's important to constantly not slow down, keep growing, keep learning, keep teaching, keep fulfilling your purpose, which we do not know what it is on this world, but it may come to fruition in those final moments, whatever. But you can't slow down. You don't know where that finish line is going to be. You don't know where it's at. You don't know when it's going to come up. The best thing you can do is constantly strive to become better. It's a slow, day-by-day basis. It is stacking one brick on top of another. You know, one brick is just a brick, but 1,000 bricks is a wall. I was going to say, as a joke, build that wall, but that's terrible. I was going to say, but I didn't, right? Even though I fucking told you. Um, don't slow down, right? You don't know where that finish line is. More times than not, it is much further away than you think. You have so much time, but you also don't. You know, that's so funny. You have so much time, but you also have no time. So just don't slow down. Don't let that be a interpret that how you want and decide to consume it how you want, how I've been saying. But the way I like to interpret it is that's beautiful in the sense of I don't know where that finish line is. It could be 20 years down the line. It could be tomorrow. It could be 1,000 years, not 1,000 years. That'd be crazy. It could be 60 years from now. It could be in a week, right? But I will continue to strive to become a better person in all aspects that I can be, not only for myself, but for those that I need to lead along the way. And I believe that is something that is very important for people to do, to remember that, to be selfless in your learning, to oh man, what is that saying? It was my screensaver for so long. To procrastinate is to be entitled. To think you have so much time is selfish. You don't. None of us do. But to not want to learn something or to not pay attention as much or to not push yourself to be better, to become a better person in any aspect that you can, I believe it to be sort of selfish, because by doing those things you could better lead others. You could better teach for their purpose, to help them find their purpose, to comfort someone along the way, to be that stepping stone that they need to help find their purpose, right? Now, maybe not. Maybe I sound crazy in this, and I know that's fine. I'll sound crazy, but that's what I personally believe. I think it's very important. Don't slow down. Keep pushing. Keep chugging along. Keep learning. Be a sponge, but also be the faucet that feeds into other people, to teach them, to lead them, to help them along their way, as others have for you. Don't focus and don't dwell on those who have been, huh? Don't focus and don't dwell on those who have been negative in your experiences and in your journey. Rather, take them for what they were, learn from them, give grace to those, and to be appreciative of the opposite, of those who were kind to you, who helped you, who led you down the better path, who were leading you in the correct direction, that resonated with you, that you felt in alignment with. I think that's very important, and I think that's something to try to keep in mind on a day-by-day basis. Now, we are not all perfect, but it is a practice. It is a spiritual practice. It is a personal practice. It is a day-by-day thing. It is peaks and valleys. It is peaks and valleys. It is the something. I forget the name of the freaking thing. I'm always forgetting things. Dang it. Damn it. Oh, no, that's not the video. What's the video? Whatever. Whatever. Yeah, I hope in this episode, though it seems like a fucking bat, no, not a bat, trying to, like a bird trying to find its way out of a dark cave. I was going to say bat, but bats use echolocation. Nerd. I know this episode has been all over the place, and I hope that maybe something resonated with at least one of you. if I can help at least one of y'all, then I am proud of what I've put out there. Um, yeah, I know this was all over the place. I know it was a crazy ride, whatever. Maybe it made 0 sense. Maybe it made perfect sense. If it resonated with you, it resonated with you. It's kind of just how it goes, brother. Careful of what you consume. If this is something that was positive for you to consume, leave a like or whatever. I don't leave a positive review or comment or whatever. Share with your friends. um, yeah, that's really all I have for you guys today. If you want me, I need to get better. I will make this promise to you guys. I will get better at laying out my thoughts to follow along an objective plan to finally reach a goal conclusion in the end to better lay out the teachings of what maybe people want to learn about. Or it's just another episode where I'm just bullshitting, where I'm just goofing off. There's going to be all of those. There's going to be some of these. There's going to be some of the latter. Whatever. Yeah, so there you have it, folks. I don't know what else to say. This has been another episode of Dami Issues. It's been fun. It's been real, and it's been real fun. I'll catch y'all later. Mwah.